Okay, we're live. I'm starting a little bit different way because I just did something fun last night. So check it out.
Forget what they told you in Sunday school. God's not mad at you. You don't have to make America great again. And your spirituality doesn't have to look anything like theirs. Welcome to Evangelicalish with Paul and Ashley. We're untangling and unlearning what harms, reclaiming what heals, and searching for a new kind of 21st century spirituality.
What do you think?
Hey, that was kind of cool.
Yeah,
I liked it. Was that AI generated?
of course.
Of course. But
Of
you know what?
course.
That I did like that. I like the music a lot better.
Yeah, of
But
course.
also good words like untangling and what was it? Untangling, unlearning. I like
Unlearning,
that.
unlearning what harms and leaning into what heals. I like that.
Oof. Hey, way to go, ChatGPT. We like you. Uh
and
yeah,
and
good morning, everyone.
good morning. I was going to say, speaking of Chat GPT, I have our prayer for the journeyed soul to read to start off today when we're ready, but we can say hi to
Okay.
everybody first.
Yeah, we when we get serious, we can do that. But I'm not ready to be serious yet.
Okay.
It's like, God,
Anne says hello from the Roman Catholic division. I love it.
hello, Anne. Very cool.
And Doug,
Um,
Doug likes the new intro. So
yeah, good. Well,
yeah,
Doug is probably our best, like he's the aficionado of ish.
he's got the most insight. That's for
What
sure.
Doug says goes. Um, yeah, I guess I'm just feeling a little breathless. Getting the Sunday morning routine back where it's like, oh, I actually do have something to get up and do is
Oh, I
I'm not
know.
gonna lie, it's jarring a little bit for me.
Yeah, we may have miscalculated that because sleeping in on Sunday morning is such a
Oh,
delicious thing. But
it is.
getting up at 8, as I did today, 8 Pacific, is sleeping in compared
Yeah,
to what we
it's
used
not
to do. Yeah.
exactly. It's not like we're getting up that early, but I'm telling you, I think my body by I go on adrenaline all week and then I start to try to catch up on my sleep, but I really don't go deeply to sleep until like Saturday night. So then by Sunday morning, I'm like, oh, can I just lay here, But
I went
here we
to
are.
bed at like 9:45 the other night and got up at
Yeah.
7. My body was like, "This is weird. I don't know what to do."
I'm so glad you were able to actually like let go and sleep for a good long while.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um Yeah, also it's really hot. Just FYI for
Oh,
those of you who are not in California's Central Valley or watching this another time, like it is, you can just tell it's going to be a 105-degree day today. So our air conditioning is set on 72 upstairs. The thing says it is 72 degrees up here, which is normally great. You can just feel it in the air, just like hangs heavy. It's just kind of hot.
well, if you walk up our stairs to the second when you
Yeah.
get to the first landing on your way up, you note like a 10-degree increase in temperature.
Yeah, exactly.
But yes,
Exactly.
we have. I hear our weather is very akin to like Palestine and Israel, and
Okay.
very dry, very hot. We have almost no humidity whatsoever, which is good, which helps. And yeah, I just noticed. I watched a little bit of the pod from last week, and I shifted my chair a lot because I think I need a new desk chair.
Well, good news. We are in the middle of renovating your office. So you will
Okay.
be getting a new desk chair. And that is something to look forward to. You will soon see a new backdrop in the ish office downstairs.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
going to happen. That is going to happen. Um, yeah. So maybe give a little bit of background as to where what did you call what's the title of the poem? The Journeyed Soul.
The journeyed soul. A
Yeah.
prayer for the journeyed soul.
Where did it come from? What was going on for you when you co-created it with a certain robot named Para?
Ass- my assistant named
Your
Para. What are
assistant
you
Para.
talking about, robot? Bite your tongue. It's interesting though. Again, AI scary. Not sure what to do about it. Uses a lot of power and energy, and is bad for the environment. But there are moments when I'm in a mindfulness time or struggling in a day that I can ask Para, my chat GPT, for inspiration, and she will come back with some amazing stuff. And so this is just called, and again, it's we work on it together because she's always taking my stuff and repurposing it. And so here it is. This is called A Prayer for the Journeyed Soul. And this was just something in my quiet time the other day that touched me. And if you're on our email list, you received this in your inbox today, or else in your junk mail box, one of the two. But this will just get us started spiritually this morning. A prayer for the journeyed soul. Spirit of compassion, inner light that never left. I honor every part that brought me here, even the ones I exiled, even the ones I was taught to hide. I bless the fierce protectors, the quiet survivors, the tender ones who still hope after all they've seen. Let this pain be a teacher, not a tyrant. Let discomfort reveal what is ready to shift, not because I am broken, but because I am becoming. I lay down the illusion of perfection. I pick up presence. I pick up breath, that I am already worthy of softness, of belonging, of rest. And when I cannot trust, may I simply remember that even this moment is holy. Amen. And so it is.
Mm,
Isn't that beautiful?
it's so beautiful. There are so many profound nuggets and lines in there that I just want to like hover over each one. I think you should record that and just post it so people could replay it. Uh, that was really lovely. I love
Yeah.
the let my pain be. Was it a teacher and not a tyrant?
A teacher, not a tyrant. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really and that every moment is holy or sacred. I don't recall the word.
When I cannot trust, may I simply remember that even this moment is holy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the word sacred has been coming up a lot, and I'm kind of playing with the idea of sacred rebellion. Like caring for ourselves spiritually and emotionally is resistance against, an evil empire, so to speak. And that word sacred, of just this pain that's happening at a particular moment. It's not good, but it's sacred in that I'm willing to lean into it, walk through it, and see what I can learn about myself, my system inside, and the world outside around me in it. So
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's just really good. For me, that pulls together, um, different conversations that we've been having here at Ish. Um, I think I've probably referenced this show more than any else this year, that when we talked to Neil Douglas Klotz
mhm.
and the author of Aramaic Jesus, and learned about breath and learned about the way the ancient sort of Eastern, I guess it wasn't even Christianity, but like Jesus culture, perceived the divine as much more of a like just living, nurturing presence that was whatever it is that gives us life. That's how the culture related to, or how Jesus would have been thinking about the divine. Very
Mhm.
different, and gets us into our topic this morning. In addition to coming up with a really great new open, you also had a really great title for our conversation today: Stealing God's Manhood.
Yeah.
Very provocative. And but we wanted to talk today about why is it that sort of like blowing up that concrete footing in our spiritual foundations that says God is a man, God is the father, God is the he, da, 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 like why that's so significant. When you start kind of wiggling with that and ultimately flushing it, it totally changes your orientation of like how you perceive and connect with spiritual things. So anyway, your poem lifts that up, and it kind of brings to mind these other conversations that land us here today.
Yeah. I was really proud of the graphic promotion for the show today, but my computer updated overnight, and right now I can't access it until I change some settings. So, and if I
Perfect.
change those settings right now, I'll have to end the live stream. So
Perfect.
I won't be able to show it today. Yeah. But
Um,
I love this
yeah.
from our friend Terrestrial Traveler. This is kind of our spiritual moment on Sunday morning, right? And Terrestrial Traveler says, feeling God's womanhood started my healing process from Christian abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's beautiful. And I love that. But we're even talking about more of just thinking of God as a person. You were talking last week about two things that you had to sort of untether from to be able to fully go into a journey of learning a new spirituality. And one of them last week was original sin, that you are a sinner inherently
Yep.
because you exist on Adam's planet. And number two, that God is this dude that you have to placate to be able to have good things happen in
Yes.
your life.
And
And by
it's
dude, I mean, even not necessarily just the masculine, but that
a
God
human.
is a
Yes.
being at all. Yes.
Yes. Yes. That
So tell us more
and
about that.
well, last week we struggled with I should say I struggled with even pronouncing the word, and I was like, whatever is that a word? And then River Hugger from Madeira was like, it's this, and then you finally anyway, what the word
The
is
anthropomorphize God.
anthropomorphize, like you make something that's not human, you make it, you relate to it as if
You
it is, and you
you give it
personify it.
skin. You give it
Right.
skin and give it a body. Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
it's it's to me there's so much like conflict in my head because growing up, I heard all the words that would say, God is spirit, God is divine, like, do you know what I'm saying? So we got that, the words, but then the practice and the additional words and the representation of God from the man in the pulpit and the every single conversation about God, the divine, in my entire life, man, woman, or otherwise, talking about God, it was always he. It was always there was always this embedding of like human characteristics on the divine. And when you first started going down a deconstruction path, and I was like trying to hold on to you and like got pulled into the Alice in Wonderland rabbit hole, like tumbling down with you. Um, and you would start saying, you're saying these things like God is, not a man on a throne with two eyes and, a nose and a mouth. And I was so frustrated. I'm like, I know he's not, but he also is. Like, shut up. You're messing with my frame of everything I have thought about this thing this person who I worship and who I try to talk to and all of this. And the more that I mean, it was literally over months and months where I started to just be like, okay, if in my quiet time and in my mind, if it's not, because I would always, I'll say this, like, what do you remember the host on Fantasy Island? The,
Ricardo Montalban.
yeah, that's kind of how I thought. That was my
Smiles,
picture of
everyone,
God.
smiles.
Yes. And like like for sure, like olive skin with a little bit of an accent, probably wearing a white tuxedo. Like that was,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes my image of God, or like, or, um, Charles, whatever,
Charlton Heston.
Charlton Heston, Moses, but with all white,
Yeah.
sitting on a throne. Okay.
And
So
so you
anytime I would,
allowed God to have olive skin, but he could not be a non-white presenting person.
I mean, I would say it was definitely olive
Okay.
skin, like we're not, it was like racially ambiguous, shall we say. Like you racially ambiguous Fantasy Island God. was who I was like, when you go into your quiet time, you're like visualizing and, blah, blah, blah. And like that, those are the images that would come up.
So
And yeah,
can I ask you
yeah.
something just to keep us moving forward? And I don't mean to take you off track, and we can come back to this if this isn't the right time now. But you know, we're in a place where I say, whatever pathway you take to connect to the divine and to what I call like the goodness of heaven or the wisdom of the divine, I bless. And that can be through a God that you see with
Yes.
skin. But
Yes.
what was the harm for you? You voiced to me this week that it
Yes.
was and is still an impediment for you. What does that look like?
Well, because the human view of God that was for sure attached to the human preaching that was coming in to my life from all different sources and all the conversations and ways in which I have been surround sound connected to conversations about God and human beings, shoulda, coulda, wouldas that all get attached to that. The our current day evangelical expression of Christianity just came with a lot of shame and a lot of like, you better be right, you better be right, you better keep it right with God, all of that kind of stuff. So then when I'm trying to like have spiritual time with Fantasy Island God, that represent
I love that, by the way. That's a new one that we're keeping forever. Fantasy
yeah,
Island
Fantasy
God. I
Island
love
God.
it.
Because I kind of, when I was a kid, I kind of thought that guy was hot, by the
Of
way.
course he was. Of course he
Okay,
was.
so
Yeah.
like, and like when I was 7 and 8 years old, I'm like, "Ooh," and then Fantasy Island
God
God.
is hot.
Yeah, totally. So so, anyway, it brought the human shame. It was like that got married up like this. So then to
And
approach
let me add something, because the skin on that God is like the thinnest skin there is, and he has to be placated all the time.
well, yes, and that's you. I don't wanna I appreciate that you said that. That wasn't
Okay.
entirely the same for me,
Okay.
okay? So, because I do think I got presented with a more grace-filled God
Okay.
person than you, but yes, to some extent, but it was more that it just triggered me into the voice of my dad, the voice of the preacher, the voice of my youth pastor who would know if I secretly French kissed, that day. I mean, it was like all of that, and so
Or had
then
lust for God, for Fantasy Island God. Yeah.
yeah, although I am actually just uncovering that right now. That was not something I was aware of. Um, but I had to work through all that. I had to, like, as someone has said, I had to step over my shame to then try to imagine that I was in relationship and connection with Fantasy Island God. So that is that has been the problem for me.
Yeah. And you voiced it in an interesting way to me this week of that God gets in the way of relationship. It's like
Yes.
that, and I'll say placating, and I know that's not exactly your word, but gets in the way of human interaction. I thought that was a
Well,
really
that's
interesting
a
thing
really
you
good
brought
point.
up.
So here's the way I would say that, like in this, okay, so that sheath or sheet of no, God is in the form of the human who judges you, got in the way of me and the God connection. And it also got in the way then when I left that prayer time, that sacred spiritual connection time, and I went to interact with humans, it also it was like a sheet that dropped down between me and every other human relationship too. It's the same sheet between divine
That
connection and humans.
that's a lot of bullshit. But
Bullshit.
so
It's
what
like
does
this.
that?
It's
But
like if you. It's like this.
yeah,
Like I
explain
can't
that a
see you.
little more, because it's a little bit. So how does that look practically? Like
Well, what I think
you're at the table with somebody to have relationship. How does God's sheet get in the way of that?
it could manifest in it's bottom line is its agenda. So I could write a big word on this piece of paper, and the word would be agenda. Okay, so I can't see you or connect to you because my agenda is in the way. And in this case, the agenda is I have to be a good Christian and make sure you're saved. We're talking about something that may be very deeply painful, personal, whatever. I need to position myself so that you're seeing me as like the good Christian that I am, and I want you to think of me. It is, I kind of need to correct your thinking a little bit here, because if I don't, God might be mad at me. It's an agenda.
Yeah.
It's just like, and so then when it's like, oh, that is not at all from spirit, from heaven, then I can just remove it and be present. And the word in your poem, present, I mean, to me, that's what that means, is just drop the agenda
Yeah.
and be open.
Even like saying grace before eating, it's like, let's invite God, let's invite Holy Spirit to this. And it's like, no, I invited you to coffee. I did. I
Yeah.
invited you to
Yes.
lunch.
Yes.
Can we just have relationship, or it plays out? And I would love for those on the live stream here to share, like, how has seeing God as a being with skin on a throne impacted you, helped you, whatever. Love to see your comments in the stream, and those listening on audio. You can go on our Facebook page and comment about it, or on this podcast. Just how has God with skin impacted you? And, to me, it is that thing of like, okay, first, before we can have this time together, that God has to be placated. So that can look like
Yeah.
the old Christian. I'll sit with the gay person. I'll sit with them, but I'll need to tell them that I disagree with their lifestyle
There you
first,
go.
because
That's
that
it.
God
There's
with
that
skin
agenda. Well,
has to be placated. Yeah. And
yep.
I used to weigh over 300 pounds, and I never had anybody sit down with me and say, Paul, I disagree with your lifestyle of eating. For some reason, it's only, queerness that we have to do that around. It's a very, somehow God kind of hates the same people that we hate, or struggles with the same people we struggle with. So it's almost
Yes.
as if we created him ourselves.
Yeah.
What, did I lose you there, or are you in deep thought?
No, 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 no. I'm just thinking. Um, yeah, and I see Anne's comment in the chat that Anne never thought of God as a person other than the corporal realm, in the Jesus on earth. Um, and that's a good point. Like I did, I was like, in my mind's eye, I could imagine Jesus, because obviously Jesus was in the, TV shows, and like there was like I could imagine whatever that Jesus looked like. I had God the Father as Fantasy Island God. And then there was this Holy Spirit thing. And I was like, I don't know what that is. Maybe just like a little bit of a shape shifting thing. But I definitely tried to organize, like in my mind's eye, like that they must look like something. And then when we started going through this deconstruction journey, and I started hearing more people talk about the divine, and then I started reading, I don't know, just more contemplative stuff, more Eastern Christianity, and then I started thinking of God as spirit. And I just imagined this sort of like bigger than the universe, like mist almost, that is like the presence of divine love. And then when I would kind of come into quiet spiritual time, spiritual practice time, and I was thinking of that just spiritual divine presence, it really started to change. I wasn't like begging this, cloud of whatever presence for something. I wasn't feeling, I was just observing that presence. It really changed everything for me.
It's and I'm not invalidating Anne's comment at all, but a lot in Christianity is, and you said this, and I actually love it. I didn't really believe God had skin, but he did. There's so many
Yes.
things in Christianity that, like you say, in the evangelical wing of our heritage, it's like, you don't have to vote Republican to be Christian. but you do. You know, it's almost like the unwritten rules in sports. You know, like we don't really believe God has skin, but he does, and he's a he. You know, yeah, but we know he's not. But yeah, he is. You know,
Right.
it's really a murky thing. And so I think what's important is the turn you were making there is once you were able to sort of get that guy out of the way, how did that what did that change for you? Or maybe somebody might even want to know, you know, what does God look like to you now? You know, and I use God with air quotes.
Mm, mm, yeah. Um, okay, so I don't think I can fully express or know, but I'll just here's what I've noticed that feels different. As I said, when I shifted to, let's say more of like a quiet meditation time, and I stopped like interceding, like pounding on the doors of heaven to like, hey, dad, think differently about this thing and help out your kid down here. Like that was my intercessory prayer life. Um, and when that went away and it was more like, you know what, whatever is like I'm not begging for circumstances to change anymore. Instead, I am like allowing myself to bear witness to the beauty of the as far as my mind can imagine what perfect love, being in the presence of perfect love, what that feels like. Um, and then I just like would kind of like maybe 5 minutes of just like observation. And I'm, by the way, I'm borrowing, and I should have brought it into this room with me. And I know in a minute we're going to talk about books that have been impactful. One of them is Wisdom Jesus by Cynthia Bergault. And she taught, you know, I started to learn about this practice that's, you know, like, yeah, this is the way a lot of people do experience their spiritual time, and what they will call prayer is just observing the divine, bearing witness to it, being around it, and just like kind of being open to it. And it that describes my where I'm at spiritually now more than the intercessory prayer days of, you know, banging on the doors of heaven or whatever.
So,
And it really changes me. It's like I feel differently about my whatever I'm carrying that feels like a burden. I don't expect the burdens to change. I don't expect the like it's like the pain is going to be there. It's how you know, how you change the way you experience it and see it. Does that make sense?
yeah, yeah. Well, and I don't think the divine, or you know, it is a mystery
Yeah.
by definition. So it is unexplainable in many ways. And again, I think the fantasy island god is a man-made creation because so often we need simple representation of impossible unknown things. And so we create, you know, some farmer somewhere 4 to 6,000 years ago said, "Oh, that thing I'm interacting with that I don't understand, it has to be this patriarchal God. You know, it has to be this guy on a throne that we have to worship and placate because that's." And then I can use this to beat people over the head with it too, maybe even, you know, if we go a little bit farther. But to me, the story of Jesus, the whole story is no, Abraham and the divine made this deal that ended the separation between the divine and human. The divine and human are one now. That was the agreement of, if you ever read the story in the Old Testament where they cut the animals in half and the Spirit of God passes through it. That is a covenant that there is no barrier anymore. So we don't have to go through a guy to get access to mystical wisdom or mystical love or divine presence of something that draws us to a better place in our inside, emotionally, spiritually. We have access to it just because we exist, and we don't have to ask for it. We can just go there.
Right.
And if we need a guide to take us there, it can be Jesus or Holy Spirit or an ancestral guide. You know, there are an innumerable number of ways to do it, but all of it is because I deserve access to it because it's kind of what maybe this journey is about, is learning
Well, and
how do I bring heaven to
I
earth?
personally would take out the word deserve, because to me that puts like a human,
Okay,
that's like there's
good.
an advocacy there. I don't think we have to advocate at all. And that is the thing. And this ties back to our conversation last week about letting go of original sin theology. If we are all carriers, if Holy Spirit is in us because we are carriers of that, it just is.
Yeah.
It's not something we have to work up to, fight for, demand. It just is.
And I think,
Period.
yeah, that's a really, really good point. And and then it comes down to this really esoteric, like, oh, that divine I'm accessing is actually me. It's actually us. It's we're not going after some other guy to make him happy. We're recognizing that we are both flesh and spirit, and we're accessing something that, like you said, is inherently ours. It is us. And I think that
Right.
maybe that's part of this journey, for whatever reason, is learning that we have access to that. So when
That's right.
Jesus is quoted in the Gospels as saying, I and the Father are one,
Yeah.
I think that's what that story is pointing towards. Like,
I
we
think so
already
too.
have the divine in us. We don't have to
That's
go
it.
beg.
And so
Yeah.
so then I don't have to do this. I don't have to have an agenda between me and another person.
Yeah.
I'm just like, hey, we're part of the same, we carry spirit. And to introduce another word that makes a lot of sense to me right now, wholeness. Like each of us, our spirit, come together and make this wholeness. And this, Richard Rohr uses that a lot, which, I'm loving reading his stuff right now. So there you go.
And so I love this comment from Terrestrial Traveler in the chat of the live stream. How you see pain makes all the difference. If you fight it, you can't win. It's not bad, just unpleasant, and makes a difference. And I think where that is so pertinent to the conversation you've brought to us today is, if there isn't a daddy in heaven that I can say, fix this, now I'm going to have to face what's in front of me. I can't use God as an avoidance. I can't use God
No
as a
spiritual bypasses.
spiritual bypass. The pain is there to tell me something. The pain is there to teach me something.
Hmm.
And the pathway to the end of that pain is through the pain. If I say, oh, joy comes in the morning, or all things work together for good, it is literally, emotionally, and thus physically unhealthy for me.
Yeah.
That version of Christianity is an emotionally stunting belief that says, oh, you don't need to feel this pain, or that pain, God gave that to you, and and he knows you can bear up under it, instead of like, oh, I don't have a daddy to fix this for me. I'm going to have to walk through this
Yeah.
pain to the other side.
As my 2 therapists ago, wonderful therapist said to me, make the U-turn. Let's go back to you. You're talking about all this stuff out here and these people and their what they're doing and the pain of it. Okay, stop. Like, that's over there. It's about you. How are you caring for you? How are you doing the healing work that only you can do? There is no such thing as a perfect human relationship, a perfect spouse, a perfect relationship with children that can heal you. You can heal you, period.
Mm,
So then as that work gets better, and I think that's the lifetime journey. That's not you're never done with that. Um, but as the open wounds in you are healing and closing up, boy, do I show up differently in relationships today? I think you would testify. Yes, I do. I think you would say I show up differently in my relationship with you. Um, so because I've taken responsibility for my healing, and now my relationships feel so much more present and connected and so much more fulfilling. And that is life-giving.
yeah.
You know, So it all comes together.
Yes. And it just makes me think about that idea of, as Anne is telling us here in the live chat, the cost of animals is a huge capital outlay. It's not free. And so, when we're talking about that moment of Abraham and God cutting the animals in half, that was a very expensive process of making a contract between two families back, again, 4,000 years ago or whatever the timing was of that. And if there shouldn't be a cost, a human cost, a monetary cost to connecting to the divine, if it's us already. But humanity adds this extra layer, and it has this cost. Even to Jesus has to be beaten beyond recognition on the cross because there's a cost to, placating God. And when we get rid of that God with skin, it's like, oh, there is no cost here other than doing the hard journey of leaning into what this means to learn how to access heaven, both externally and the heaven that is in me. And there is that's not easy. That's fucking hard. I can tell you
It's
that.
fucking hard. By the way, I am so grateful to, and I posted River Huggers comment there, like, a lot of people deconstruct during grief and loss for all the reasons we're talking about today. Like, what, when you after you try everything else to try to make the pain stop, and you do that U-turn, and do your you work, your inner journey. I'm really grateful to have to at least be this far, and I'm not declaring success or victory or anything like that, but I feel a lot of gratitude for the last 5 years of learning, another 5 years of learning, healing, walking, whatever. Um, and a lot of people who have been through, some of the stuff that we've walked through, they need to entirely divorce from any concept of divine and faith. I mean, you and I sat with, I don't know if you remember this, but a really beautiful couple, probably now well into their 70s, who were a part of a massive, like, Holy Spirit movement in our hometown of Fresno back in the 80s. They were some of the first that were like digging the well of like revival stuff, that kind of the vineyard movement type of Toronto blessing types of stuff. And they deconstructed to the point where they're like, yeah, we don't really know that there is anything past our human lives, and that's okay. And I would say, and that's okay from my perspective, like, because I certainly don't know, and all this is a great big mystery. But a lot of people go down the paths we have, and they are not connected to any sort of spiritual concept. And I'm grateful that we still are.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's part of what we're trying to do here is offer that permission. Kind of sounds again like a
Yeah, like
top-down
we have the power and we don't.
model, but
Yeah.
sometimes I think we just need to hear other people's story to give ourselves permission to do something that's different than what we've known. And so hopefully through hearing our story, some other people can give themselves that permission
Right.
to
Well,
be
and
on that in
I think
whatever that
it's,
looks like.
yeah, it's like, it's story, it's experience, and just conversation. Like, I think that's what I constantly envision our time together on Ish is like, let's book the time, and let's kind of set the table a little bit for people to come into a conversation. And that in and of itself to me is the sort of healing, and just, I don't know, what we're trying to bring to each other and to others.
I find this fascinating, and this may be a little bit of a side road, but just in my master's program right now, I'm learning about humanism in therapy, postmodernism, where it is we believe everybody's story because they're bringing a truth to the table. There's not this one absolute guy with absolute truth. Feminism of life is egalitarian, it's not patriarchal. and all of these things that were just so evil when I was in the Christian world. I mean, in my pastoral training, there was like,
Yeah.
postmodernism is destroying us, and it's communist and all of these things. But now this is exactly what we're talking about, is humanism. Like, God is not this being out there that is above humanity and needs to be, have sacrifices made to be able to be okay with us. No, human beings are carrying some divine light, whether it is just that we're human and we're living here and we're taking care of each other, or there is something beyond this that we're preparing for. Humanity matters. Humanity is not evil. And once you get there, you can't look at immigrants and say, oh, they deserve to be treated cruelly. Even people you disagree with, you have to start saying there's something special about that
Right.
person because they're human, and I have to see
Well,
them through that perspective.
so to drop into the political for a second, and the drumbeat of "We are a Christian nation, therefore all the brown people have to go and all of the gays and the trans people have to go." Like, so it's like, I'm with you on we are a Christian nation. Okay. Like, let's look at the life of Christ and the like literally putting his life on the line for other people. Yeah, that is the foundation of democracy. So, like, I don't get too upset about people like invoking Christian nation. It's just like, well, which version of Christian, right? Because there is a version of the Jesus story that is absolutely fundamental to the reason why our nation has risen up and we have found a way to do democracy with each other. Just so anyway, a little side note
Well,
there.
and it's every major religion in the world, and probably all the minor ones, if there is such a thing, have love your neighbor as yourself as a pillar of its teaching. And yes, Christian nationalist Islam has that command as well.
Yeah, is and they want to rail against Islam, like Islamists are, whatever, not, nationalists, right? Like, just like we've become.
Oh,
So
with Zorhan winning the Democratic nomination for mayor of New York, Islamic hatred of Islamic people is on a huge rise right now. People are not even hiding that, oh, this is a takeover of the country to have
yeah,
a person who follows Islam to be elected to office. I mean, it's horrifying. But in that
real
command,
intense.
love your neighbor as yourself, I would say, is the implicit command of loving yourself. And so it's why original sin is such a terrible teaching, because when you teach people you are not capable of doing good, it really impacts us emotionally and spiritually and our mental health. But
Yeah,
when we learn, like, oh, taking care of myself is really important as a part of being able to interact well with others, it really does. Now we don't have to eliminate people to like be okay and make sure God's okay with us because we're getting those terrible
you know,
people of
I
other religions out of the way.
I want to give a huge shout out to our commenters in the chat today. We are getting like fire comments. Like this, I'm sort of obsessed with just sitting here reading and watching all of you talk about this. Sorry, I checked out a little bit, Paul, on your last point, but thank you. These are great comments, and just a reminder: if you're listening to us and it's not Sunday morning 9 Pacific, try joining us live sometime. It's really a good little group conversation going on here, and we'd love to invite more voices. So we wanted to finish with something a little bit lighter, a little bit fun today, and we're going to call it's new. It's a little new segment we like to call movie, book, or song. And Paul and I are huge, like, I mean, I would just say, like, we do like to consume pop culture, our version of it, or I'll say for myself, my white girl 80s stuff, like, I don't pretend to think I'm like super cultured, but there are so many ways in which artists, movies, books, songs have like totally shaped us and impacted us over the years. So it was like we were reflecting the other day, like, what were the big moments for you in one of these mediums? So You want to go first? Pick a movie, book, or song and talk about how it impacted you.
Okay, this is a movie, a book, and a song, and a
Whoa.
play, all
Whoa.
of the above, and it's Les Miserables. It's Les
Yeah.
Mis.
Yeah.
First time I ever saw it, your parents took us to see it here in Fresno, and I may have even been a little bit like, I don't know about this, but I do love
Well, we had to
plays.
get dressed up and go down to the
Yeah,
theater. Blah, blah. Yeah.
do all the things, but then I saw the story. I was like, okay, this is the greatest gospel story I've ever seen. When the priest, tells the police officers there, oh yeah, no, we gave the candlesticks to this guy. We gave them. He didn't steal them. We gave them. I
Yeah.
was like, oh my God. Like,
Oh,
this is a whole new way of looking at grace and mercy, and the music was just, I mean, the music of Les Mis is
unbelievable.
beyond heaven. And your daughter and I have just been obsessed with it forever. And so, yeah, seeing Les Mis was one of the really life-changing moments of my life, of
Yes.
seeing, Anne says it was the bishop. Yeah, the bishop giving the candlesticks to Jean Valjean. Just it took my breath away, and I was in for the rest of that. And it's all about self-sacrifice for others, and then gaining yourself out of that process. And it's just
Yeah.
one of the greatest stories I've ever seen.
I remember that night like it was yesterday. And um we were sobbing. This is like
Mhm.
in Fresno, California, at the Sorian Theater, like the Broadway tour, and these traveling casts that come through, and these performers were insanely talented. And yeah, so from there we bought the CD, like that came in like a 3-pack. This was back when we would like put the CDs in our car.
Yeah.
I don't think our daughter was born yet, but by the time
No.
she did come around, and probably starting at about age 3 or 4 years old, you were playing Les Mis in the car, like picking her up from school.
Yeah.
And and so she then later, when she was 8 years old, she did her first little school talent competition or
Yeah.
whatever, talent show. And she sang a Les Mis song on the stage. We have that
Castle
video.
on a Cloud. Yeah.
Castle on a Cloud. She then got into musical theater and now is an aspiring opera singer. She made a playlist, and the playlist was called Songs That Remind Me of Dad. I can almost not say this without tearing up. She sent that to us like 3 years ago, and there were like 3 Les Mis songs on it. And yeah, so look at me. I mean, like songs, culture, beauty impacting us, connecting us to human emotion. It's just so powerful. Love
The
that.
little fall of rain can hardly hurt me now. I mean, it's
I
just,
mean, you could live your life in just one of those Les Mis songs, like every
yeah.
single line, every single like musical note. It's just wraps you up. It's incredible.
And there's almost no words in the play at all, almost none whatsoever. It's just music. And then the stage spins,
Yes.
from one scene to the next. I mean, it was just thematically and cinematically just beyond belief. But then when you think about the brilliance that it took to write that music, to put that story together, that is divine. When
Totally.
I see Les Mis or listen to the music from Les Mis, I am connecting with something
In heaven.
otherworldly. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go movie and completely change genre, but
Okay.
it's a music story in movie form. And the movie is Ray, and it's about Ray
Oh yeah.
Charles.
Yeah.
Now, I want to say this movie came out in the probably mid 2000s, because I think we had both our kids at that point. We watched it at home on like, I don't remember if it was like Netflix when we used to get the DVDs or something, but we watched it at home in our bedroom upstairs. And there was something about that story. Well, I can tell you, I was considering it was right before I considered running for local public office. So it was probably in the, yeah, 2004, 2005. But there was something about the story, the hardship of the life that Ray Charles lived, and seeing it up, like considering the intense pain of his upbringing and his family's story, and then seeing that turn into this musical expression. I wept the entire time. I woke up the next morning, my eyes were swollen shut that I had cried so much. And here was
Mm,
what was one of the big points of it was I was like, okay, this is one story of intense human pain that we're watching on this movie. But how many other, like, I'm thinking about our own community, tens of thousands of thousands of thousands of people, we all, I guess, but particularly in Fresno, communities of color, people growing up in very disinvested places are like, it's this story times 1,000, and it's all around us,
yeah.
and just kind of taking that in, it really brought to life just struggle and challenge, and that human beings are living with that stuff in our own town.
I think we were probably going through some heart change at that point as
Yeah,
well. And, you know, uh, gosh, Ray, I can't think of what his last name is now, but
Ray Charles.
Ray Charles, serious drug problem, drug abuser. And it just really shows like we can sit and say, oh, that person is disgusting. Oh, you know, how horrible. And when you watch that movie, you're like, oh no, there's a backstory here. There's a
Yeah,
pain that he's
yeah,
trying to find a way to deal with. And who am I to say I have my own ways, unhealthy ways of dealing with pain? And you start to be able to see people through the or maybe take off the filter and start to see like, oh, there's a reason this person is this way. Not they were just inherently born evil, or
yes,
they're lazy,
yes,
or any of the things we use to justify our hatred of somebody else, or they're mentally disabled. Although yes, we all are battling those emotional issues, but he wasn't a drug addict because he was a bad person, because he was weak, or any of the other things we say. He was fighting a battle that
yeah.
he didn't even know he was fighting from trauma as a child. And
And
yeah, it really moved our hearts. And yes,
I think,
I've never seen you cry like that ever.
do you remember that?
I do.
Um, oh my God. Okay, so, and I think back then, because this was at least 20 years ago, the like, I think society has evolved so much. It's so much, there are so many more people. It's a little more of a common understanding that addiction stems from, and I think there is less stigma, still some, but less. And probably at the time, like, I'm sure I was a latecomer to that revelation too. So I don't, but at the time, that for me was definitely an opening of like, oh my God, it's just pain. That's all. It's just pain that people are struggling with. And it was just like this total empathy floodgate just dumped on me. And I was just, it was very impactful. Okay, I think
And
we have time for one more each. What do you think?
I want to say on that too, I think some of it is like we were just mortified that then there are leaders in our cities and states and countries who kind of govern in a way that says we don't give a shit about those people, that those least of people we don't care about because they don't deserve our care. And we just, yeah, our heart was affronted by that. Yeah. Okay, one more.
One more each. By the way, I would love to get folks in the chat commenting, movie, book, or story or song, movie, book, or song that impacted you. And did you see I put this up, Paul? Amazing shout out from Terrestrial Traveler, actually naming a social media influencer, Unconventional Pastor Paul, as
Oh,
one of the most healing times in my life. Finding your content, to hear your voice, what I felt was healing. This journey with you continues the healing. So, like, hello, that's pretty awesome. Thank you for sharing
oh,
that. Terrestrial
that makes my day right
Traveler,
there. Yeah.
everything. That's everything. Okay, you go. Movie, book, or
You want
song?
to go first on the second round?
No, because I haven't thought of I have so many to pick from on my list.
I
Do you have
know
one?
I'm having trouble picking one now, but
Okay,
I
okay.
did. I well, wait, what?
Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Um, I picked up this book before, and Falling Back in Love with Being Human, and it's a compilation. It's called Letters to Lost Souls by Kai Ching Tom. And again, it's like I grew up my whole life like, oh, human beings are bad and evil, and to get a book like this that a lot of it is aimed towards trans humans. Like if you really hate trans people, like I would say pick up this book and read it and hear.
Did I lose you?
Wow.
I lost you a little bit. Are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, but it's weird. It's like not coming through your microphone. Um,
Can you hear me
okay.
now?
Anyway, yeah, now you're good.
Oh my gosh. I don't know what happened there. The whole
Yeah.
StreamYard changed all my settings, but yeah, just
Okay.
reading about the heroism of these human beings who have fought through life to still survive on the other side of being told you're a terrible anomaly that is a threat to all of humanity, and to say, well, okay, that may be me, but I'm going to live anyway. Just it's heart impacting and heart changing.
Okay, so that is I will and thank you. Huge shout out to our friend Nikiko who sent you that book.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was probably a year and a half or more ago, and you have been feasting off of that for 18 months now. So
yeah.
that has really been an impactful book. I'm gonna go song that ties to a movie, and the song is "Don't You Forget About Me" by Simple Minds, because of
Oh,
course, Breakfast Club, like,
I could
did
see
that
Judd
impact?
Nelson putting his
I
fist in the
know.
air right now.
Like, I am an 80s white girl. What movie most impacted me? A Breakfast Club, obviously. I am simultaneous. Sometimes I use this as like a dinner prompt for people like, okay, Breakfast Club, which cast member are you?
Oh,
Are you and like, what do people think you are, but who are you really? And that's kind of a fun way to think about it. And people, but I'm Ali Sheedy, I'm Molly Ringwald, and then
and
I'm always like,
what's your answer to that?
I'm Anthony Michael Hall, obviously. Like, recovering perfectionist that's like on the front row trying to get every answer to the test right. So that's who I have been. I will say I'm not exactly that person anymore, but
Yeah,
um
I think I would have thought, and people would have thought I was the Emilio Estevez character,
yes.
the wrestler, and I'm probably more of the Ali Sheedy character.
Yeah. That is it's actually as I have talked to people about you and they have questions about you and your journey. I usually will say, grew up expected to be Emilio Estevez and is probably more of Judd Nelson and Ali Sheedy combo
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
in in the movie.
Well,
So
and
that's a
isn't
great
that
way to
that's the whole arc of the story of the Emilio Estevez character, is that he's
yes.
being this person he's expected to be, but he feels very different on the inside. And so, yeah, oh, I love that. I love that. That's a good one. Which character are you from Breakfast
Which is
Club?
the yeah.
And if you say I'm the principal, then you're a Christian nationalist and you need to get help and get fixed.
Well, and you could yeah, that's true. You could expand it to be like the
Or the
parents,
janitor.
the janitor. Oh, the janitor. Um Anyway, all right.
Yeah.
Well,
What a fun
there we
movie.
have it.
Oh, I
There we
love it.
have it. Okay,
I love it.
this is a fun game, movie, book, or song. We'll have
Yeah.
to do this again sometime.
File that. I wanted to say Pink Pony Club too, but
Oh, that's definitely impactful. But um I would say, well, for you different than for me. I have a different attachment to the song. We can talk about that another time.
yeah. Well, hey, this was fun. I love the topic, and we're going to keep breaking things down. We are going to bring guests back at some point, but I don't know. We find ourselves more interesting than the guests sometimes.
Also, like, coming Sunday morning, it changes things, like, folks aren't necessarily wanting to join us, on a Sunday morning. It's kinda downtime, so.
Yeah, I mean, since we're on the West Coast, most of the people we talk to, it's later in the day for them. But yeah, it's wonderful. And terrestrial traveler, thank you for those kind words. That meant a lot. So
Mhm.
we love you
Very.
guys. Sign up for the email newsletter. Um, I I wrote a great blog this week in the collective, and so if you're on the email list, you get all the information about what we have, and a great. I wrote about. I'm done trying to save the empire while things are burning around us. Good things can happen. Go check it out. But yeah, go to evangelicalish.com. It'll take you to our website, and you can sign up to get on our email list and always be up to date on the happenings. Is that it?
That's it. Thank you.
Bye bye, everyone. Love you.